Hello everybody, I am 22 Tiger Dude and welcome to Animation Domination, and we're going to start off with the Cleveland Show. In the Cleveland Show episode, this episode is about when Cleveland's pals are actually enjoying their time at a graveyard. And then Rallo, he goes out of town to be with his dad, but then his dad leaves him alone. So Rallo is friends with these tough kids. So my thoughts on the Cleveland Show episode: I think it's superb. I really like this episode. I think it's enjoyable. I think it has moments that actually did crack me up. And, just good quality laughs. Storylines are actually not bad. They're watchable. And really, that's really all I could say. It's enjoyable. Plus, it's actually good to see they're doing continuation now, because Dr. Fist is officially one of the members in the Cleveland's group. So that's cool to see Dr. Fist actually continue to be in their group. Good job, writers. You're doing continuation. That's really good. So that means we get a little more Bryan Cranston. Although, Dr. Fist didn't say a line in his episode. I'm guessing Bryan Cranston couldn't be in this episode, so they just have him not talk for the whole episode. The episode, I think it's just really good on the laughs, the story, the characters are all done. And Rallo, even though he doesn't want to be mean, he pretends he's mean. Like, there was this one scene where he goes to his kids saying, "Okay, here's what you're gonna do. I'm gonna take the ball from you. I'm gonna push you down and pretend you're crying." And the little kid just does it, and that actually did crack me up. And what Rallo did at the end, it was sweet. It was nice what Rallo did for little tough kids, because those kids had nothing. And so what Rallo did at the end of the episode was really nice, and I really liked that. As for the graveyard episode, I could say that it was enjoyable, but my problem I do have is it's a little disturbing, and it was kind of sickening to me. I don't know about you guys, but to me it was a little sickening, and I don't know, I got a little weirded out by that after a while. Plus, there are a few moments in the episode that had me go. I really did enjoy this Cleveland Show episode. It made me laugh. I thought that it was enjoyable overall. And so I'm going to give this episode a 9 out of 10. Dun, 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 dun. It's The Simpsons with special guest voice Edward Norton. And he plays a deacon, aka the priest. Isn't that awesome? Edward Norton and The Simpsons. Oh, yeah. But to get to the plot, it's about when it was time. The couch that The Simpsons have had all these years for the couch gag, it's finally broken down, and it caused problems for the town. It had bed bugs, and there was no solving of the chaos happening in the town. Even Father Lovejoy had no help of that situation. And so that's when Edward Norton comes in. He plays the new priest, and Father Lovejoy leaves. Everyone seems to really love Edward Norton because he will use movie references and all that stuff for his religion teachings. And so Father Lovejoy decides to leave since no one seems to really care. Everyone except for Ned didn't care that Father Lovejoy left. So it's up to Ned and Bart to get him back, because Ned does not like Edward Norton, and Bart misses having his father-son time with Homer, since Homer now is working with the new deacon, played by Edward Norton. And so my thoughts on this episode, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was funny, it was well written, And I really liked the episode. It did make me laugh a lot. I didn't really like Ned's character here. Like, he seemed a little out of character when he didn't like Homer working with the new father, and Homer kind of taking charge. So, and then it's also nice to actually have an episode that focuses on Father Lovejoy, because when does the show ever focus on the priest? It never really does. The problems I could say I did have with the episode, though, was that it does get a little boring. Like I said, Ned was a little out of character here. It seemed too quick with Father Lovejoy coming back, and all of a sudden everyone's all happy that he's back, even when they didn't want him back in the first place. That kind of bugged me there too. It's irritating and it's kind of messed up. But overall, it's enjoyable. I enjoyed Edward Norton as the guest star here. So I am going to give this episode an 8.5 out of 10. Bob's Burgers. So Bob's Burgers is about when Tina and Louise go to the Boys for Now concert. So yes, I guess you could say it parodies One Direction, Justin Bieber, all those hit talents out there. So, going into this episode, I was not looking forward to it. I was actually expecting to hate the living shit out of this episode. And before I get to my actual thoughts, there's also a subplot where Gene has a table setting contest, or as he actually prefers to call it, table scaping contest. Alright, you guys, my thoughts on this episode. It was watchable. I fooled you guys. You guys actually thought I was gonna hate this episode, huh? You actually thought I was gonna hate this episode. I fooled you guys. I fooled you. Nah, just kidding. But I'm not gonna lie. I actually enjoyed this episode a lot. The episode gave me some good laughs. Although I'm gonna honestly say I did enjoy the subplot just a little more. But the main plot with the concert was actually watchable too. It gets a little annoying with the screaming girls. That's mainly my major flaw with this episode. The screaming girls. And it gets weird as the subplot begins to come to an end. The Boys for Now group, they were really irritating. That main plot, while watchable and enjoyable, it gets really annoying and it gets too chaotic towards the end. And in my opinion, the subplot ended abruptly. As for the table setting contest, it's actually one of the most original ideas the show has ever come up with. I like it when shows come up with ideas you don't normally see. How often are you going to see a show where they have an episode about having a table setting contest? I dug this subplot. Some of you could call it, man, this is stupid. But I could tell with this plot, they actually had originality going in here. And I enjoyed the subplot a lot. I thought it was funny, it was simple, it was original, and I found it more enjoyable than the main plot overall. But in the end, I'm satisfied to say I really enjoyed this Bob's Burgers episode. Certainly a huge surprise considering the fact I was coming in expecting to hate this episode a lot. But really, no. So, a toast to this episode not sucking at all. By the way, this is iced coffee in case you're all wondering. So I'm going to give this Bob's Burgers episode an 8.5 out of 10. It was really good. We now go into this Family Guy episode, and very quick, I'll just discuss the Modern Family parody intro that Family Guy had. I enjoyed that, and Modern Family, it's an overrated comedy in my opinion, but overall, it's entertaining. But anyways, that's all I'm going to say about the intro. You know, they did a good job parodying it. This episode is about when Lois thought Louis' stuffed teddy bear Rupert was very dangerous. So he actually got recalled. Stewie gets very upset about it. And he wants to go in the factory, find Rupert, and save him before it's too late. Meanwhile, in the subplot, Peter gets very sick. Lois thought it was sexy though. And Peter and Lois have been, you know, making love to each other twice as more often than before. So when Peter felt better, Lois didn't dig his normal voice anymore. And so Peter finds his attempt to get sick again, in which it was a little gross there. But then Peter gets so sick to the point where he lands into the hospital, and it was extremely, extremely horrible, and he could have almost killed himself. So while Peter's in the hospital, he has this bowling tournament, but he can't make it. So he asks Lois to take his place. And so Lois, Joe, and Quagmire, they're in the bowling tournament. And of course, they win the tournament. But then Lois starts to hang out with the guys. And once Peter got out of the hospital, he didn't like it anymore. That's really your plot right there. And so, without a doubt, this is one of my favorite Family Guy episodes. I love this episode. This episode was fantastic. From start to finish, I actually laughed a lot. Both of the storylines really entertained me. There wasn't a moment in both storylines where I'm like, stop. They both were very good in their own way. I can't pick what I enjoyed better. Okay, I'll admit, slightly more I enjoyed the Stewie and Brian going to save Rupert from the factory plot. Just slightly more. But I do really love the whole main plot with Lois hanging out with the guys and Peter not liking it. This is just one of those episodes I could just rewatch and still get a good laugh out of it. The good thing about this episode too was how there was actually a little bit of heart in here. There was actually a little bit of heart in this episode without trying to ruin it with a joke. Like, we have this scene, Brian and Stewie, they have this little talk, and Brian tells Stewie that maybe it's time to grow up and move on from Rupert. And it was a little heartwarming moment, and they didn't try to ruin it with a joke or anything, and I love that moment. There was also this moment towards the end of the main plot where Lois, you feel bad for Lois because she even says it herself how she doesn't get to hang out with friends like how Peter does with Joe and Quagmire, how all she does is take care of bills, goes grocery shopping, and you feel bad for Lois there. Lois, she realizes it wasn't right to take away Peter's friends, and so she was nice to let Peter have Joe and Quagmire back. So there was heartwarming moments this episode that I really appreciate. Continue to do that, Seth MacFarlane. You really had me in the heartstrings a little with those heartwarming moments. Oh my gosh. If I have to definitely name one of the hilarious moments, it's when Stewie, he does find Rupert at the factory, and he was in this incinerator, and then when Brian tries to save Stewie, because Stewie's on top of that railing thing about to fall off in that pot of fire. So then Brian tries to use all these toys, but he ends up getting hurt, and he fails many, many times. So it cracked me up. I just love this episode overall, and if you're a Family Guy fan, you're, without a doubt, going to love this episode. I love this episode. One of my favorite episodes of the season, and I'm giving this a 10 out of 10. I just love it overall, and I can't wait to rewatch it again. Alright, so in this American Dad episode, the CIA Internal Affairs, they tell Stan that Avery, that he's showing signs of dementia and want to have his memory erased. Meanwhile, Roger runs into a bully at school and Roger has to hire an old friend to take care of the problem. Another bully plot. That's right. How many times has American Dad used a bully plot? So, subplot is really nothing new. But I'm going to ignore that because you know why? I love this American Dad episode. Yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's really good. It surprised me. I laughed from start to finish. It succeeds with the humor. It succeeds with the storylines. And even though the subplot has that same bully plot, I actually really enjoyed that plot. I'm not going to say I love it, but I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the stand and every moment, there were moments I thought were actually unpredictable. Like they actually did a good job of having some of these twists and turns that go on this plot. The plot was not only funny, but it kept you interested. Although I will admit the ending was predictable, but that's really the only thing I could say. And I didn't really care that it was predictable because it worked with how they did the ending. And it was hilarious. Oh man. So yes, I really love the main plot. Subplot, I don't love. The only reason I let slide is because it's really barely in this episode. Like, it's just there. Like, they could just take out the subplot out of this episode and it really wouldn't be any different. The episode would still remain the same pretty much. So the subplot's barely there and I don't love it, but I can let that slide. It's enjoyable at least. And of course, it's the same old Roger wins, Steve loses thing. And that was really my nitpick with the subplot. But like I said, I'll let that slide. Overall, if you're an American Dad fan, then you're going to enjoy this. It gives you plenty of laughs. It's well written in both stories. Well, main plot, mainly, in my opinion. And I just loved it. Ending cracks me up, and you better be damn sure that I am definitely going to rewatch this episode because this episode is one of the best American Dad episodes of the season, and that's why this episode, just like Family Guy, is going to get a 10 out of 10. Good job, American Dad. Subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter. Comment and give me your thoughts on each of the Animation Domination premieres. Like and share this video. I hope you all enjoyed this, and don't forget that I will always have Tiger Power!